I just can't help but love practically every episode Jesse Moynihan has a part in creating. Sadly, episodes he's involved in are drawing to an end, since Jesse won't be returning to work on Season 8 of Adventure Time. He will be dearly missed, and after the bittersweet day on which the last Jesse episode airs, I'll definitely have to make a tribute video on my top 5 Jesse episodes. Jesse's irreverent mythology-building trends continue in crossover, as we are introduced to even more godlike beings, as if we didn't have enough already. If you thought Season 7 was going to start tying up plot points and resolving them, it seems like you would be way off based on where we are right now in the season. We have even more plot lines unraveling before our eyes, and the scope of the Adventure Time universe is continuing to grow even larger. Prismo has a boss!
Let me repeat that. My boss.
That boss likely doubles up as the boss of the Cosmic Owl as well, and there's apparently an entire hierarchy, or more like bureaucracy, of these godlike beings, which seem to be separate from other mythological things like gold or the Catalyst Comet essence. That's so awesome. I'm drooling. Initially, after watching Crossover, I was actually rather skeptical about broadening the Pantheon even further when we still have so many unanswered questions and mysteries as it is. But you know what? Nah, bring it on! The more the merrier. Beyond the teasing of new ethereal beings, we also have further elaboration on the multiverse theory. And yeah, there seem to be multitudes of alternate dimensions. And the Lich wanting to destroy every single last one of them just makes him even more menacing, as if he wasn't menacing enough already.
Fall.
You may be noticing a pattern here. Adventure Time is doubling down on things that are already astounding. It is important to remember that the Lich of this Farmworld dimension was created very recently in time, and yet he is knowledgeable of the Enchiridion, the jewels to activate it, and the ritual that would allow him to open this portal to all dimensions. This is not the first time the Lich had knowledge of that which existed long before he did. Let's recall a scene in Gold Stars. The Lich, upon coming into existence, seems to be imbued with a whole bunch of knowledge about the world, both past, present, and who knows, perhaps even future? He comes into creation not just with an impulse for death and destruction, he is also born somehow possessing the knowledge of how to achieve his goal. Just such delicious, juicy bits of teasing information here. Oh, I can't wait for further lore on the Lich. And even if we don't actually get it, these things are so fun to think about nevertheless. The Lich's hand entering every single dimension, the implications to this are countless. A part of the Lich is now preserved across every version of existence, many of which probably have a similar Lich in them already. What happens if these are ever integrated together? Is the Lich's essence maintained in his severed hand, which means the Lich could potentially revive from it? Seeing as how the hand is at the treehouse, could our heroes, with the help of PB Science, enact a countermeasure against the Lich for the future? There's just so many possibilities and so much potential here. One thing I was confused about in this episode is what exactly was dampening Prismo's powers. We know Golb prevented them from working before, but there wasn't a single sign of his involvement. Prismo didn't mention the Lich at all to Finn and Jake, saying it was Farmworld Finn building the portal. So does the Farmworld Lich somehow have a method of escaping Prismo's notice and dampening his powers? It was rather unclear. I did discuss how the Lich is seemingly born with innate knowledge to get his task done, so perhaps Farmworld Lich was born with the knowledge of how to get around Prismo's interference. That's the best explanation I got at the moment, but if you have an alternative one, please comment. And of course, as far as new plotlines go, I have to mention how at the end of the episode, Finn sees his alternate self with his nuclear family unit. Finn strived to make sure his alternate self would not be trapped under the control of the Ice Crown, isolated and alone. But instead of feeling pride or relief that this other Finn found happiness in the end, the scene brings about a melancholic longing in our Finn that was never fully filled last season, even after Finn accepted Martin for who he was. It seems highly plausible at this point that Finn might want to discover what happened to his biological mother, and while I can't say I'm eager for that idea, I wasn't eager for Finn to find his biological father either back at the end of Season 5, but I ended up loving the entire Martin arc. So at this point, I'm down for anything because I have confidence the Adventure Time crew can pull it off. Finn's grass sword / arm triggers on its own and saves Finn yet again this episode, similar to back when it activated against Orgolorg. It seems the grass sword will not activate until Finn is either in the presence of immense evil, or in dire danger, or both. Or perhaps Finn just needs to have an emotional explosion, so to say. Back with Orgolorg, Finn was about to be absorbed and he freaked out. And now Jake was about to be killed, so Finn freaked out again. Against the vampires and stakes, there wasn't a moment this dire, except maybe when the moon was about to finish off PB and Marceline, but Finn was crawling the other direction trying to reach his sword stake, and he was not aware of how much of a close call this whole thing was. So Finn's grass sword has basically become a deus ex machina at this point. I'm not yet bothered by that, but if the sword's activation saves him yet again for the third time in this manner, that would become too much reliance on the same deus ex machina. 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. However, there is an episode this season with the title I Am a Sword, which I predict will tackle the relationship between Finn and the grass sword. And hopefully this episode will avert future uses of his grass sword from feeling like a get out of jail free card. This episode has one of the most ridiculous retcons ever, by the way. The good kind of ridiculous, not the bad kind. Back in Jake the Dog, Finn was wearing the ice crown, but then when the mushroom bomb explodes, the ice crown was on Simon's corpse. Now, this had to be a blatant animation error. Well, this episode took that animation error and made it an entire plot point. You're blowing my mind here, Adventure Time. Only you could possibly get away with stuff like this and have it be amazing. I gotta bring up, however, that the Catalyst Comet that was a past life of the Lich and brought about a mass extinction, that crashed right in the vicinity of the Ice Crown. And yet the Ice Crown persisted. I do have a somewhat hard time swallowing that this far less concentrated blast of the mushroom bomb was supposed to have destroyed the crown, but maybe there's still some stuff left to explore with either of these two events. That, or you could just make up rationalizations like the epicenter of the mushroom bomb, while small, has annihilation properties, or something like that. Still, I absolutely loved this retcon, and I freaked out when it happened. My main gripe about this episode is simply that the flashback at the start of the episode felt totally unnecessary. It also took time out of the episode, time that could have been put into making the pacing a bit better. The pacing to this episode did feel a bit too jumpy and rough around the edges. Taking the minute or so it took for the flashback and using it to pad out the other scenes could have made things flow far better in my opinion, but that's my only minor complaint. So yeah, I loved this episode. The setup, the concept of it all, the interactions between all these characters, all fantastic. And the episode mixed in humor astoundingly. In addition to simple but great jokes,
I'll get you out of this, Billy.
It's Bobby.
We also have these delicate moments that are jam-packed with depth and subtext that are also hilarious.
Are you being stupid on purpose? Yeah, but dude, that is me. That's me. I heard you the first time.
Episodes like this rekindle my love for Adventure Time, even though my fire never went out in the first place.
Wow! I must just get first try!